Wholeness, beautiful beings. Welcome to Note of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. Today's topic is about the soul, dark night, the dark night of the soul. This has been coined, I think, since probably the mid 80s, maybe early 80s, I think, in the New Age boom, if you will. But there, I believe, different meanings. You can have dark night, meaning Night, night, like when the sun goes down and we lose daylight and all goes to sleep in the world. There's no light, okay, only darkness. And then you can have night, Knight. And I prefer the Knight, night, dark night, the dark night of the soul. At first, I believe that Dark Night was just like you're entering into this very dark phase in your life, and the hole, and your dark Saturn, or what is it called, Saturn return, or whatever, the astrological community, they talk about that. No, but I've come to the realization that it's all about how you perceive it. Dark night, like a night of the round table, right? A knight is a protector of some kind. Like, I think of the King Arthur, right? And the Knights of the Round Table, and the knights they're there to defend the kingdom, and but the dark night of the soul, could it be that the dark night of the soul is the keeper of secrets of the soul, of the shadow realm within your own consciousness? And when you meet your dark night, right? Right now, I envision the archetype of a knight, and he's in full garb, and he has his sword, but his sword is downcast. It's pointing downward to the earth. So not ready to go to battle, but like at a very neutral stance, like he's guarding something. And when the dark night enters your space, it means that you can no longer run. You can no longer run from the illusions of the ego that the ego has built up around you. You cannot run from your spiritual needs and the lack of doing rituals that purify your soul or purify your spirit. And you can't run away from the soul. You can't run anymore. And that is when the dark night appears in complete garb, in armor, with his sword, standing neutral, ready for you. And this, a lot of the times, men and women, their lives feel like they're falling apart. Their lives feel like they're falling apart, that they are the illusions are falling apart. The ego can't protect them anymore. You know, what are illusions anyway? The egoic illusions it's anything that we over-identify with. Like your marriage, people can over-identify with their marriage, or their motherhood, or with their career, with their money, with their prosperity or lack thereof. They hide behind their poverty. You know, like there's some people who believe that it's a very virtuous thing to be poor and broke and destitute. Truly, there are. Like, it's a very virtuous thing. Like, it's a good thing to be poor. It's a good thing to be struggling. People hide behind identities of their clothes that they wear, their political beliefs. We see that very much now in our culture, of your political affiliation. And when the Dark Knight shows up, he takes that sword and he slashes all of that away. And ego is dying. Ego is like, no, I'm melting. You know, it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. It's like, like she just melts under the water, right? Because water purifies. The dark night does what your spirit wasn't doing. It is what it is. It takes that whole knife. It's like, okay? And what's so fascinating about archetypes is whatever you envision, right? It could be a samurai soldier. It could be, what am I thinking? The South African, a Shaka Zulu, with the spear. It could be some form of a warrior. It's like, okay, you've ignored the soul or the signs of the soul. You've ignored a lot of messages. You're hiding behind these egotistical illusions, and you're not doing anything spiritually fulfilling or cleansing. So I'm stepping in full throttle, and I'm just going to have to tear some shit up in your life. And that's what happens. Oh no, a 20, 30-year marriage is gone. Oh no, I lost my job, or they've taken half my pension. What am I going to do? Or my business is falling apart. My friendship of 15 years is dissolved. Or this or that, or my house, blah, 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 blah. Like everything starts to just crumble and move and shift and rearrange to get you to wake the F up. And sometimes that could even be an OD, right? You're partying, living life, you're bringing in all this money, partying hard, you have an addiction, and everything's so fun and everything's moving so fast in your life, then boom, full stop. Completely, everything halts. You find yourself, you open up your eyes, and you're connected to tubes and a heart monitor. Ask me how many patients I've taken care of. Ask me. Lives are going great. Full throttle. Doesn't matter how old they are, really. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Yes, some 60s-year-olds still partying, okay? I don't know how, but it is what it is. And they wake up and they're like, ooh, I think I took it too far. And me being part of the medical team, I'm like, yeah, I think you did take it a little bit too far. Something's got to give. And then when you speak with these patients, and then they slowly will start dropping a little bits of, they don't tell you everything that's happening in their life, but sometimes they drop really big bombs that even the people closest to their family don't even know. They're like, don't tell my family, and you can't because it's HIPAA, right? And you're just like, oh, wow. And now, I now understand, the Dark Knight showed up. Like the Batman movie. The Dark Knight done showed up. Ready to cut everything out. And the Dark Knight will even fight some of your demons for you. And a lot of the time, things that I've heard from some patients that I've taken care of, they'll be high off their rocker, coming off of whatever they were consuming, okay? Which sometimes they would induce psychosis. So they think, we're coming to them, like trying to help them and stabilize them. And then they believe we are a demon, or we are someone that's hurting them from the past. And so they start swinging, Sometimes they do, they deck you pretty good. But yeah, it's like that. And I'm like, oh, Dark Knight showed up. Dark Knight showed up. And then I think of individuals who their life is a constant battle, and it sucks. I can think of people very close to me, or people I don't, mesh with anymore, and just like one thing after another, after another, after another. It could be pretty rough. But the Dark Knight is not something to be fearful of if you are a man or woman of faith. I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm not talking about that. Faith in something bigger and greater than you that flows through you, and you trust in that flow. You trust in the love that flows through you. But if you have no trust in the love and you have no trust in the light, you believe that something's happening to you, that you'll just be lost in perpetual darkness. When you meet the dark night for the first time and you fight it, you fight the dark night of the soul, that's when it turns into hell for many people. Right? Like, let's say it's a drug intervention and your family's trying to get you off of, whatever you're on. And so they have an intervention, but in this intervention, you kind of don't have a choice anymore. And they throw your ass in rehab and you don't want to be there, right? Right? Or they 504 you and or whatever that code is where you lose your rights temporarily because you've gone psychotic. It's a whole, it's deep. It shows up in so many different ways for so many different people. And the best thing when you're meeting the dark night of the soul is please don't be in the space of resistance. This is your soul. Soul cannot be killed. Soul cannot be born. Soul is just infinite and eternal. And, dark night, it just manifests into what you've been avoiding for a long time. And, I guess, I don't know, people in my life, when I would have a meeting with the dark night of the soul, it threw me. And it's not just flat tire. No. No. That's not it. Someone tried to scam me. I actually had that happen once. No, that's not dark night of the it. Every facet of your life is effed. Like, it's just complete. It's almost like you begin to feel, it's almost like if it makes you feel kind of what they call a disassociation. You become disassociated with reality a little bit. It's like, is this my life right now? You feel like you're in a Sims game. You feel like you're in a video game, that life is a game and you're a character in it, and your role in the game is elevated or shifted in a way that you weren't ready or prepared for. And you all facets, love life, money, all the things, like think of like your root chakra, think of your earth star root, your lower nature self is completely thwarted. Everything's flipped upside down. And you're left like, oh my God. And it could be one big event, like a divorce or a nasty breakup or a fallout with a company or a business partner. You have to go to court, and it's usually a long drawn out event in your life that takes you a while to recover from. I'm not joking. It just, or it just could be a multitude of really pivotal events in your life, and then all of a sudden you blink your eyes and you're working as a cashier in some rando little town in the middle of the desert. Happened to me. I blinked and I was like, what? And it's exactly where I needed to be at that time. My soul was like, oh God, girl, I've been waiting for you. Thank you, Dark Knight. She wasn't listening. It be like that sometimes. Like, it's literally, it can be like that. A death. You guys, and I know I spoke about the 2016 in my life, like within 6-7 months, my life changed so drastically, so quickly. to this day, I'm like, wow. Like I have no regrets, no bitterness. Things move so fast. I went to 3 different funerals. I believe, was it 3? I believe it was, I think it was 3. Car accident, quitting a job, left a stable, probably one of the most healthiest relationships at the time I thought, for 2 years, and I left everything. No joke. It was a lot. Left, and when I say left everything, I didn't know where I was gonna live. When I got to, I had a car. Oh my God. I was living on a prayer. Living on a prayer. Yeah, that was me. That was me in 2016. Whew, that was me in 2016. Mm, I mean, I landed in Arizona, and then I was staying with the friend at the time, and her relationship with the guy, she said, "Oh, yeah, you can come out and stay with us for a little while." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Moved out there. Then the boyfriend sat me down after 2 weeks and said, "I'm going to need you to find a place to live in about a month or in another week or so." He was kind of a crap boyfriend for her, and they ended up breaking up anyway. I was stressing, okay? I said, I just moved out, all the way out here, you know? And here I am today. But just to say, I didn't want that to be a whole biographical or autobiographical spiel. My point is that when you meet Dark Knight. Dark Knight ain't nothing to play around with. Dark Knight should only be a temporary visitor in your life. For some souls, for some beings in their contract, it is going to be a constant meeting of the Dark Knight. I feel I have very deep compassion for people who have to meet the Dark Knight constantly. And it is a cyclical visitation. Don't get me wrong. It is a cyclical visitation in your life where things just flip upside down. The topside world flips with the underworld. And you're like, what? And sometimes Dark Knight people, they, the Dark Knight will do their best to slay, it's there to assist you to face yourself. But if you continue to fight yourself, right? Some people become alcoholics and get addicted to drugs or gambling, or they just go into a whole life of squalor and self pity and they don't recover. Life just ends up beating them down to the ground because they keep resisting. Non resistance is very powerful practice, as well as forgiveness, too, which will be another video. Maybe a whole nother topic because it's something I'm actively trying to figure out myself. But may this message find you well and whole. Um, it you know the sign. I know the signs when Dark Nights come in and pop up in my life. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes it catches you right off guard. You're just like, what? But most of the time, things aren't right. It's like it's almost like the illusion. Like think of I'm trying to think of a good example. Not the Matrix, but like things are fake and not real, but you go along with it anyway. Okay, like the character in the Matrix, I don't know what his name is, but he wanted to go back into the Matrix. He hated the real world. He didn't like the truth. And it's almost like when the ego is so full of bull crap and it's so just stuck in the illusion of separation and hiding all the time, eating off of your shadow self constantly, it's like soul is like, it's about that time. And you feel like you begin to feel it. You feel shifts in your marriage, in your partnership. You feel a weird shift at work. You feel a weird shift, like something's about to happen. Something's about to go down. You know, like it's, you know, it's a, for those, especially for intuitive people, y'all know, y'all already know. We try to fake like, oh, what, I don't feel anything. So, and soul's like, oh gosh, oh jeez. But may this message find you well and whole. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I don't claim to have all the answers. Look, I'm just sharing. Sharing is caring. I'm just sharing, and we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Sorry, I'm very musical. Um, you know, but don't be afraid. It's not a fun time. It's not fun. It's not. Joy is very. It's not the season of joy. It's definitely not. But, but, it is a time where you come out stronger than ever. I promise you that. All right. Take care.